You're making the money. Who is it for? You're going home, but you're miserable. You're grumpy because work was miserable. What's the point?
This is Chi, born in China and now an American living in Singapore. In midlife, she made a career switch from the investment world in New York to mental health therapy in Singapore. I met with Chi to find out whether you really need to work hard to succeed in life, why scolding is so common in Singapore, and how to get rid of anxiety. I'm Chernov, your insider to a better life. Let's go.
I turned 40 last year. And so
Welcome to the better half of life.
Exactly, yeah. I started noticing that I'm kind of afraid to be late in life now. More than before, more than like 3-4 years ago. So for me now, what if I die now? It would be, okay, it would be bad, like for me and my family, but the main thing is I would not be able to execute all the projects that I want to do. So now I kind of feel like, oh, I need to run faster.
Yeah, and, so you feel more pressure. Advice, hold first on the idea. I think what you're experiencing is very common and normal because up until 40, I mean, I have a good friend who calls this the noontime of life. Yeah. I think it's right? We're at lunchtime. We've had breakfast, and at breakfast we weren't rushing, and then now at lunch we're like, oh shit, dinner's just around the corner. Oh, I just said a bad word, sorry. So previously you were counting up to 40. After you hit 40, psychological milestone, you're like, oh, now I'm counting down. Yeah. Right, how many years do I have left? And given current longevity, I think a lot of us are looking like, maybe I've got 40. But my own father got sick at 43, passed away at 50. So I had your moment at 26, right, when he passed away. Yeah. And what I see a lot of people doing at this point is, there's the initial phase, which is the trigger. For you, it's the, oh, I just turned 40. And the trigger makes you feel like, oh, I gotta hurry up. Maybe I'm behind. Maybe I should have made more money. Maybe I need to go check all of the items down the list. But then after that initial trigger, is the time when you reflect on yourself, right? Okay, so I have these 10 things I want to do. If I do one every decade, I won't get through it all. Yeah. That's when you ask, like, what's really important to me and why do I want to do these things?
Sometimes the pressure from work and all the responsibilities feels like a bit too much. But I know when I feel stable and confident in what I'm doing, things actually get easier. For example, while living in Singapore, I have my people and my favorite places where I can calm down. And when I travel, I already have experience and trusted tools that help me stay calm no matter what happens. And one of them is my Revolut card. And what's cool about it, and I'll tell you a secret now, okay? When you sign up using my link or QR code, you will receive $30 cashback. And that's enough for coffee every day for more than a week. It's a good deal to pay with my Revolut card, and over 50 million people think so too. And since it's a financial super app, you get tons of cool features with it. For example, when I travel, I don't have to stress because I can get my eSIM right in the Revolut app and be online in over 100 countries. Thank you, bro. And if I ever accidentally leave my card somewhere, like I forget it at a cafe, I can just freeze it instantly in the app, and if I find it later, I can simply unfreeze it right away. It's super convenient, right? So as I said, with Revolut you can stay calm in any situation. And right now, if you sign up using my link below or QR code on the screen, you will get $30 cashback. And if you're lucky number 8 or 88, you can score up to $218 total. So scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in description.
Even the most mindful of us, who understand ourselves really well, are not immune to peer pressure and social pressure. So I would be surprised if something on your list of to-dos that you feel urgent about isn't like socially influenced, right?
It's interesting because I always
buy a house, landed property, PR, whatever it is that people want, right? Everybody has that.
I always thought that I'm kind of more free from social pressure. And I was always going a bit like against the flow. And
you're always a bit of a rebel. Independent?
A bit, yeah. So I'm not sure. That's a good question. Is it really the thing that I feel social pressure, but I don't? I'm kind of lying to myself that that's a thing. Yeah. Or is something else? It's not social pressure, or maybe some other factor.
But I think that's the question, right? Like for me, why did I pursue psychology? Because I think people who have heard my public speaking or, maybe follow my accounts. No, the turning point for me was 26. When my dad passed away, I had this moment where I had worked so hard, both because my father was the guiding light in my life. He set the direction and I just followed. I didn't really question. And also because after he passed away, I was like, oh, I created all this to give him a nice end of life. Like for a Chinese father, he really, I think, passed away thinking I was all set, right? So I was working at a bank. I was engaged to somebody who was working at a hedge fund. I had 2 degrees from Stanford University, like all of the check boxes for a good Chinese child. But what I felt after he passed away was like, if this is making it, why don't I feel the fulfillment, the energy, or the joy? And then that's when I started reading philosophy, I started reading religion, and I also read psychology. And then ultimately, of these 3, I was like, I'm not going to be a pastor, right? I don't see a model for that as a career. I'm not going to be a philosopher. I don't know what that even means in a modern context. But I like the structure of psychology, and many people can practice psychology depending on which country you're in. You can do it without a degree. You can do it with a certificate, with a diploma, with a 3-hour course. I mean, in Singapore, it's not highly regulated. But I do know that for me, the prestige and the structure was somewhat important, right? I wasn't just like, I'm interested in psychology. It was like, I need to have something that proves to me that somebody else said, okay, you're good enough to do this. And that's also a spectrum. Some of that is good enough, like needing social approval, and some of it is too much. So I think you have to decide on your list of things you want to do between 40 and 80, 90. I hope you live to 100, but I'm sure some of that is a mix of everything. And which is the mix that you're happy with, right? It's okay to do something because socially it's valued, right? Why do so many stay-at-home mothers struggle with this, right? Because socially we value time and humanity by money. If someone pays you a salary, you feel more important. Your partner maybe treats you like you're an equal or you're more important, and you feel some kind of gratification, even if you may not like the substance of the job. So then when people make this important midlife transition, right, many women consider the questions that you're considering now, like what have I done with my life and what am I going to do with the second half of it after they have children? And when people make that decision, it's okay to say some of it is social value. That's important to me. But you will have to prioritize on your list, right? This urgency, you can run and try to do all of it, or you can walk a little bit more briskly and say which of the 5 things on the list are my top 3. Does that help? Prioritization,
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm also like, sometimes I'm on the fence about, Mr. Beast, like the biggest YouTuber in the world. So his like philosophy, he's working like 24/7. He's like only one goal in life, only like to be the most successful YouTuber on the planet. And he actually had a great use case and great example. So he started 10 years ago. He did YouTube for some time and then was 0 views. But I always felt like, okay, I need to grind, I need to hustle, I need to be full on with business. But at the same time, I feel like I'm missing so many interesting things. I like to read books, and I hardly read any books lately. I used to read a lot before. I have a list of 100 movies that I want to watch.
Interest, enjoyment.
Enjoyment.
Intellectual stimulation, right?
But at the same time, I feel like, okay, to be successful in business, I need to work hard. So I don't physically have time to
So here's my question, if I could ask Mr. Beast, and I will also ask you. When you say success, what do you mean? There are so many different KPIs to measure success. Number of views is one, revenue is another. Creative, the most creative artists, they are not your best-selling artists, right? They're doing very experimental, cutting-edge stuff. That's success to them. To be the first person to have done something, to be the first person to have come out of the box and done something totally different. There's also social value, right?
Let's put it this way, maybe the easy way to compare. For example, there are 3 startup companies. They started now in the same industry. And I'm pretty sure that the founder that grinding and hustling more than the others, they have higher chance to be to actually grow this business and then maybe sell it later. And the other 2, if you're starting something and then you kind of spend only 4 hours a week working on it, there is a chance that you will not be successful. Maybe you even lose the business. Okay,
so I still think you're subconsciously, implicitly defining success as money or size. or scale.
If it's because if we're talking about business, it's money. If we're talking about
that's
something
not true,
else,
right? I mean,
it
a
can
lot
be
of
different.
people start businesses for social impact. A lot of people start businesses for creative passion.
I don't believe it. Actually.
You don't believe in
I
it?
don't believe it.
Okay.
I think successful business needs to generate money for the founder or for the owner.
Okay.
That's the
I think you can read a mission statement for many businesses where it's not just about making more money, and I think that's valid. And Steve Jobs has only 24 hours. Bill Gates has only 24 hours.
Yes.
I hear you. You can grind, but grinding with passion and grinding efficiently and smartly and in alignment with your own values, maybe that's more integral to success than just the sheer number of hours you put in, because there's a finite number of hours.
I agree, but I also see a lot of cases. I was in Bali 3 weeks ago. I see a lot of cases when people they start to be like more present and like spend more time digging into themselves and reading books and stuff, but then they're losing their business and they actually end up with like no money.
And they're
struggling.
with it?
No,
okay,
they're struggling.
So to me that also indicates like maybe a lack of, there's luck in life, there's hard work, and then there's clarity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are periods of my life where I've worked fewer hours than now and made a lot more money.
Yeah.
And there are also periods of my life where I worked a lot more and made less money.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that linear. But I hear your point. You do worry that you're not working hard enough.
Yes, I think that's the thing.
And you're second guessing whether some of the things that you enjoy and have an urge to do are productive, quote unquote. Like if you spent the weekend watching a movie.
Not the weekend. So ideally, maybe I would spend like 2 hours during the work day watching a movie. But with the current setup of my operations, I cannot do it.
Okay.
And then I need to find this balance, or I need to be truthful to myself, and I just need to say, okay, maybe in this period of life, when we are growing heavily, I just need to work hard. Maybe when we are like more plateau or more stable, I kind of can be more flexible.
And do you have that place in mind? Like for you, is there a number, a size where you say, now I allow myself the leisure?
Not really.
Okay, so that's
really,
then the risk I've identified for you.
Yeah.
You came for help, and now I'm giving you another problem.
Yes.
If you're on a hamster wheel and you haven't set a timer or a goal, then you're just on the hamster wheel forever, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right? I know a lot of people who say, I'm going to do this, I don't like this, I'm going to do it for 2 years, save some money.
Yeah.
But then they don't know what some money means. They just say vaguely, I want my children to be okay, I want to have a nice lifestyle, but they don't actually break it down and define it. And 20 years later, true story for many people I know, 20 years later, they're still on that hamster wheel.
For sure.
And they're still doing it, and they haven't enjoyed, they haven't developed any other skills or talents that they could do as a second career. And now the hamster wheel is the only option.
In my case, I don't feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, and I'm like really enjoying what I do. Like I'm enjoying my business, I'm enjoying doing YouTube, I'm enjoying like meeting interesting people like yourself. I feel like, go back to my initial question, I feel like I'm missing, there are so many interesting and cool things in life that I can try, that I can spend more time with, and I'm missing it.
Was there a time in your life when you did that more? Was it like before kids, before Singapore?
Before kids, for sure. Before kids, much more flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So we think about, in my profession, we think about life and emotions and all of meaning and purpose all moving in seasons.
Yeah.
Right? You and I, we're in the same season of life, right? We're middle-aged.
Yeah.
We come from formerly or currently communist countries. We probably grew up seeing some poverty, right? When I was growing up, I remember we still had meal ration tickets.
Yeah.
Right? You're a little bit younger than me, but probably not all that different from your experience in Russia. So we were, I think, allocated chicken once a week. And I got to eat the chicken on Fridays, and my parents would eat the bones and skin and say, I really like this. And, like that was life. So I think, this season of life that you're in, where some kind of business, financial success is important to you, I think that's fine. Right, you're giving your children what you didn't have, and I understand that urgency and drive in you, but maybe watch the ratio. What is the ratio of work, like should do, to want to do? And right now you're saying the ratio is still good, right? You're well over 50% want to do, and well under 50% on should do. Yeah. But when you find that creeping and changing, as inevitably things do, right? They don't stay static. Then check in with yourself periodically to say, how much should do am I doing and how much want to do am I doing? Yeah. And when it gets to like 70-30 or 80-20, maybe that's a point of change and say, okay, I've gotten to this size.
Yeah.
Is this successful enough for me? And does my definition of success need to change?
Yeah.
Do I want to change, right? I mean, sure, when I was younger, I also had things that I was like, hey, if I work 24/7, I'll get there. But as the seasons of life have changed, I've also changed those definitions.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's having that psychological flexibility to say, this can be this way, and then when it doesn't serve me anymore, this can be a different way.
Yeah, so it comes down to your answer to a question like what's success for you, what's meaningful
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, I think so many of us work so hard, especially in Singapore, right, at good jobs where, you know, it's always about measurement and KPI.
Yeah.
But when it comes to our personal life and our personal decisions around our profession, we don't define clear KPIs. We kind of just go off of what we heard from other people, and we don't even know that until somebody asks you, what does success mean to you? Like when you're 99 on your deathbed, if I ask you, Max, like, did you live a good life? What will make you say, yes, I did?
Actually, to be honest, I never understood the importance of this question. Because people often use it, oh, that's the good mental exercise. But for me, it's like, okay, if I'm dying, I'll be dead in 2 minutes. Like, what's the point? The point is
Inner peace.
the life before. But if I'm not like religious, so okay, my thoughts before dying, it kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
even if you think for you that inner peace and reflection doesn't matter, what about for your children, right? You have 2 kids. Don't you want to be able to say something even before 99, but let's say the last chance, the first time you do it is 99. Don't you want to say like, son, you know, daughter, like, I think a good life to me meant watching you guys grow up, getting to read books, watch movies, and building a $1 billion business, right? That's my faith in you.
That's the thing actually for example, for my daughter. My older one is 8, the younger one is 2. So for the older one, I want, exactly going back to this balance thing, I want to have boundaries for her. And actually with the second one, I'm now thinking about more boundaries compared to with the first one. For example, with the first one, like when she wants to sleep, we just, okay, go like take a nap when she was like 1 year old. With the second one, we have a schedule. So
Okay, so you've gone the opposite.
I think I want to introduce like kind of more structure to the life of my second daughter, seeing like how my first daughter is growing up. She's fine, she's perfect, but maybe sometimes like it's hard for her to control emotions.
Yeah.
And I think it's because maybe not enough boundaries that we introduce like earlier in life. And so, but for me, it's like I believe in the hard work. Maybe it sounds cliche, but like, okay, not in the hard work, but
you have a work ethic, and I respect it.
Yeah, work ethic is important. So to be kind of to achieve something in life, not exactly money, but something like meaningful, you need to work. You need to experience some pain. At the same time, I don't want her to be like
I agree.
Always stressed. You know, I want her to be also happy, read books, be like this multifaceted person and stuff.
Let's go back to a few things, right, that you just said. You talked about the importance of work, and I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
But work, most of the time we talk small W. It's a job. It's a title. Somebody pays me. But there's also the capital W, which is the great work of your life.
Okay.
I mean, you come from a country with a great literary tradition, right? Tolstoy's great work was his literature. Did he make much money on that? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Of course, back then, a lot of people who were artists actually were from well-to-do backgrounds. So with Lisa and with you, what is the great work of her life? I remember you telling me you gave her a challenge, or you want to give her a challenge when she's a bit older, is to do something that makes $1,000 a month, because that's a livable wage in many places in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a quote-unquote job, but that could be part of the great work of her life. It's creativity, it's applying herself, it's giving her a little bit of difficulty. So, you know, I think none of these are in conflict. And then to your point about emotional expression, some of that is biological, right? Everybody is wired a little bit differently. Some of that, like you say, might be structure, right? What we know now is children actually feel safer when there are clear structures in place.
Yeah.
Because within the confines, they know where the boundaries of danger are,
Yes.
and they know what's acceptable, so they can explore safely. But there's also simply emotional literacy in conversation. If she doesn't hear words like frustrated, lonely, ashamed, rejected, happy, joyful, hopeful, then her vocabulary, if we're talking about emotion, might just be, I feel good, I feel bad, which is the majority of people, grown-ups even, right?
Yeah.
So for emotional expression, I always suggest that parents model that.
Yeah.
If you're able to say, I feel all of these things, and name it and demonstrate it for your children, then they also grow up thinking, okay, I know what this means.
Yeah.
You know, to go back to our earlier conversation on traditional Asian style parenting, many of my clients come around midlife, right?
Mhm.
They are trying to make some kind of career inflection, life transition. And I'll ask them, right, to decide what the next thing will be, you know, let's talk about your values. What are the 3 important things to you? What are the things that when you're on your deathbed, you'll say, oh, you know, I lived my values and I lived a good life. And many Asian clients will ask me, what are values? Right? It's like nobody asked us when we were little, what is important to you?
Yeah.
Right? You've got set values, like Confucius said, you must be filial, right? That's a major value. You know, saving maybe is another value, but I think not enough children are asked, what are their values?
Yeah.
What is important to them? If they practice having that conversation, then they're able to have that conversation more naturally. Maybe you're not talking about your feelings enough.
That's for sure, 100%.
I know, because
I know,
you're male
yeah.
and you're Eastern European.
Yeah.
Right? These are things that don't help, right? Because you come from more influences socially that tell you you must be stoic, you must be strong, right? You also, you know, maybe grow up with a childhood where there was still political danger and restrictions and economic hardships. That also doesn't help you say, okay, let me talk about my feelings, because your parents were probably just so busy trying to keep everybody alive and well fed and safe. So maybe there just wasn't a lot of emotional conversation at home, and now
Yeah.
Lisa is growing up in a time where she can have that.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't hurt her. In fact, it might help
Yeah.
her.
No, she actually teaches me how to do it. Like sometimes
That's amazing.
she says something like about emotions or some things. For example, I like scolding her, and she's like, "Oh, you cannot make me do this." like something. Oh, you
yeah.
can push me to do this.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, you're actually right. It's because I'm like stronger physically. I cannot push you to.
Yeah.
I cannot just
Yeah.
hold you and like move you to
Exactly.
like to the bedroom."
She has free will and agency, even though she's a smaller person.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, oh shit, yeah,
She's right, yeah.
she's right.
You use such an interesting word that I think about often, scolding, right? We hear it a lot in Singapore.
Yeah.
I hear it a lot in
It's
China.
a Singapore word, I think.
Right? Well, Chinese too. Like
Yeah.
you scold your children, and then I also hear a lot of, because I'm a couples therapist, I see a lot of couples.
Yeah.
I also hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, my wife will scold me," and this word
Okay.
always makes me go. Scolding implies,
Yeah.
like you say with Lisa, you're physically bigger, but you cannot compel her.
Yeah.
Scolding is a form of, you know, conversational power imbalance, right? Where I am in a position where I can tell you what you did wrong, rather than let's converse about it.
Yeah.
Let me be curious about it.
Yeah.
The implication with the word scolding is, I know what happened and I know what's right and I know you did it wrong, so let me tell you. That doesn't encourage dialogue.
Yeah,
So for all the husband and
100%.
wives that tell me that scolding is a part of their relationship, I'm like, can we change how we talk? Right? Because when you're scolding, one is just there like being punished and the other one is like just ranting.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
you ask a question like, you know, why did you do that? What were you feeling when you did that, right? Let's say, I know Lisa doesn't do this, but let's say she hit somebody at school and the school calls you up. Now you have one response, right? The traditional Asian model would be to scold the child and say, that's wrong, you've embarrassed us, you know, you shouldn't do that. But then we never understand, you know, what happened. And when
Yeah.
she's older and nobody is around to scold her, how do we know that she will not hit somebody? But if you ask her like, you know, what was happening, right? What led you to do that? Do you remember what you were thinking? Do you remember what you were feeling? Often we find that, you know, it's hurt people, right? So bullies often were bullied themselves. You know, even some criminals, right, were because they suffered as children. So I find it much more interesting to, instead of scolding, have a dialogue about the root cause
Yeah.
of the behavior and then, you know, address it together instead of, I'm just going to press it down on you, give you this message and hope that my word is powerful enough that it will keep you in alignment forever. But
Yeah.
that's not true, right? You will die and the kid will still be around.
Being a strict parent, is it good? Is it bad? And what is the balance?
Strict in which way? I think
It's like, okay, let's talk about typical Asian parenting thing
Yeah.
that you have a lot of content about, like on YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah.
People are making a lot of fun of like, oh, if you are 99, you're stuck in life. You need
yes,
to be 100.
you need to be 100%.
Yeah.
True story. I mean, what we know now about developmental psychology, so like how a child grows into an adult,
Yeah.
is that you need room for creativity and autonomy, but you also need discipline. So I guess strictness is, for us, like we really try to be strict about bedtime, which is something that maybe many traditional Asian parenting styles didn't pay much attention to. But then we are very loose about letting our children pick which book they want to read or which activity they want to do. We don't want to force them to do math if that just gives them a lifetime dislike of math, right? We want them to have some choice. So I guess for me, the key metric isn't how strict you are, but more, is the upbringing of this child top down or bottom up? And for me, traditional Asian parenting style is top down. I'm not going to ask you what you want. I'm not going to ask you to think about what's important to you, but I'm going to tell you. And people do that out of love, right? I mean, we're making fun of it, but I really think my parents, they were born in a famine. They were born after a civil war. They were born after, World War II. So for them, there were so many high stakes scenarios where if they made the wrong choice, it was life and death. So of course, the top-down instruction makes sense, right? Let me tell my children everything that they need to do right to survive. But I think it would be a mistake if we apply that wartime scarcity parenting technique to peacetime and times of prosperity, right? My parents and my grandparents, their survival, their superpower was stoicism. Don't talk about the tough stuff because it's really death and hunger. Like there's nothing we can do about it. So let's not talk, let's just suffer through it. And then it was survival through physical strength, right? Previous generation, if you were working in a factory or on a farm or trying to survive through tough times, you have to be physically strong. But in our time, peacetime, prosperity, our children's superpower is really emotional intelligence, right? We need to go into companies now and to become good leaders or to become a good entrepreneur, you have to be able to form relationships with people. You have to be able to inspire people to rally to your cause. Even if you're not a manager and you don't have a team, right? Like, you and I, we're good friends. So you support me, you give me good job advice, career advice. People, my husband, I have to be on good emotional terms with him, not just physical functioning terms. We have to be on good terms so that he really supports, okay, you need to go away and do this thing for your job, or you need to go to a night class and finish graduate school. So I think the mistake that maybe many parents have made unwittingly, they haven't thought through it, is that what we learned worked for a certain time, but it doesn't necessarily work for the current time, and maybe it works even less well for the future time. My 4-year-old, what are they learning at school? They're learning emotional intelligence, right? In the car the other day, she was saying to her 8-year-old brother, Max, you're just feeling frustrated, it's okay. Right? She's like doing armchair psychology. And that's not something that I think I heard growing up, and probably you didn't too, because it wasn't important to identify your feelings now. You just needed to survive. But now we are surviving, so to identify the feelings, I think, helps us align our own efforts with meaningful goals and also aligns other people to help us achieve those goals.
I asked my Instagram audience before meeting you, like what they would want me to ask a professional therapist. So one of the questions was, okay, I'm trying to change my life, I'm trying to be better, I'm trying to be successful, but it seems like it doesn't work. I'm kind of stuck. I try and I try, it seems like it doesn't work. Any questions that they can ask themselves, or like any checklist that they can go through to understand why it's happening?
So this is interesting because when we, psychologists, therapists, counselors, when we meet somebody for the first time and they tell us that, like, oh, I feel so stuck, nothing seems to be working, we always ask, what have you tried? And what has worked in the past? Like in any memory in the past, right? You were 9 years old, you were 19 years old, right? So it's hard to give a blanket advice, but I think often it goes back to the psychological rigidity and flexibility. Most of us live in a box of constructs. Parents telling us this is a good thing, society telling us this is the right thing, and our job trains us to think in a certain way. So we're in here thinking, well, I've tried 10 options and they don't work. But what if the box is actually bigger? And that's the part that I think we need to actually work individually to explore. What have you tried and how do we expand the set of options? Somebody might say, I hear this all the time with couples, I've tried everything with my husband, we just don't seem to connect emotionally. And then I'll ask, what have you tried? And it's like they have tried 10 conversation topics, but they're talking in the same way. They're doing this scolding conversation. Well, that's not really change, is it, right? You haven't really tried, right? So how do you define the method and how do you make it bigger, more flexible, and actually something different? If you find yourself banging your head against the wall, like maybe you're actually just doing the same thing over and over and over, right? Can you ask somebody else who is from a totally different life situation, totally different career, totally different relationship status, ask them, like, you know, what would you try? Then they're outside the box, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we bring to clients, because not many people are comfortable talking about intimate or important life decisions with strangers, but you know, knowing that we are trained professionals to ask questions that inspire you to change. Like, maybe the number one misconception about therapy is, oh, your therapist will give you advice. We don't give you advice. We just ask a lot of questions. Sometimes it's quite annoying, and sometimes I tell clients, I'm going to ask you a controversial or difficult question, but I really want you to consider it, right? Couples come in all the time where they're like, oh, I hate her, I hate him. And then I ask the question, like, so why are you still together? And then, you know, they're like, oh my God, I didn't expect to be asked that question. But that's the most important question, isn't it? Because when you're in the box, you're like, there's so many things wrong with it. But then if I ask you to step outside the box, you're like, oh, I don't want to step outside the box. So then there's a reason that you're staying. So let's focus on the reason rather than all the reasons that you're unhappy staying.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Is it?
Yeah. Actually, like, trying to expand this box and see like more varieties. For me, what always worked, I analyze it after something happened, with like some positive changes happened in my life. In many cases, it was like I met someone and I talked to someone and I get this idea, and it could be the same idea that I watched on YouTube before, or my wife told me, but I met someone at some particular circumstances. I talked to him, I talked to her, and then this idea just
made sense?
Made sense, yeah.
You have to feel it and it has to click. Happens all the time in couples therapy. Oh, that's what I've been telling him all these years. And I'm like, I get it. But when you're in this relationship, it's either I'm right, you're wrong. So we get so stuck in that pattern. But when you have, you know, a therapist in the room, it's like, now you're a triangle. There's a third person saying the same thing, but somehow they can hear it. I think many of us can also relate to, my mom gives me the same advice, but I just don't want to follow it. But when somebody else says it, you know, it actually clicks with me. That's normal. It's human nature, right? We all have habitual reactions, and if you need a fresh perspective, get a fresh perspective. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
A lot of people live with anxiety at the moment.
For sure.
Any advice, what can be done around it?
Yeah. So there's a very Zen and mindfulness concept that's maybe a little bit hard to talk through. Sometimes I like to draw it. But you know, your anxiety, once the thoughts happen, it's like a tornado inside your head. And if you engage with the anxiety, then you start getting sucked into the tornado. And engaging means you're having a conversation with the anxiety. The anxiety's like, oh, have you done your work? Have you prepared for that? And then you're like, oh my God, okay, now I need to do that. Oh, but I also need to do the other thing. Right? Then this thread goes on forever. So the important thing, you know, remember in COVID, we had the circuit breaker? The important thing is to do the circuit breaker before the tornado pulls you away. And that might mean you notice the anxiety and you say, this is anxiety, rather than getting sucked into the conversation, right? You wouldn't go continue a conversation with someone that you think is going to try to rob you. You would just go away and say, you're a robber, you know, let me get out of here. I guess, you know, maybe not a great example, but it's similar. If you notice that you are going into that space, and for many of us, if we stop for a minute to notice the symptoms, we can identify when the anxiety is coming. It comes with, you know, disturbed thoughts. I can't sleep. Some people get sweaty palms. Some people get, you know, heart palpitations. Other people maybe breathe more shallow. So when you notice those physical cues and the mental tornado happening, stop and say, okay, this is my anxiety brain. This is my anxiety kicking in. The technique is very simple. It's called name it to tame it. When you can call it something, that means you are already a bystander to the anxiety. You're no longer this one, but you're one standing here looking at yourself saying, don't get sucked into that tornado. So it's a very simple and small practice. It does require a little bit of practice before it works, but if you do it in little bits, it will become like muscle memory. Right? As soon as you get, do I get anxious? I get anxious all the time, right? I'm naturally an anxious person. And then I pursued an academic and professional first career that were very anxiety fueled, right? You have to be the best, you have to do the best, you have to do it fast. But the difference, you know, the progress is that instead of it taking this long for me to notice my anxiety and manage it, I'm getting here. And maybe the volatility of that anxiety, where it used to go up and down so much, is now smaller. I say the same for almost all kinds of clients, right? Couples clients. If you come in because you fight a lot, my goal isn't for you to never fight again. But it's maybe once you start to escalate in a conflict, you notice it. Instead of waiting 3 hours and you're shouting at each other, you notice it within 5 minutes and you say, hang on a minute, right? We don't want to do this, do we? And maybe the volatility of that fight, whereas you used to throw things and shout and slam doors, maybe now you just notice that you've snapped. and you say, oh, hang on a minute, that's the conflict cycle kicking in. So again, naming it to tame it, stepping outside of the drama of your life to observe that you are in the drama gets you out of it. That's the circuit breaker.
Hey, I've launched this Telegram channel where I'll be sharing insights from my guests, travel tips around Asia, and also my thoughts about YouTube, marketing, business, and even life. It will be cozy, personal, and free of charge. So join me, just scan this QR code on the screen or click the link in description and I'll see you there. You have a lot of very high-level clients in a high level in their career, in their business, some billionaire clients. Are there the same challenges for people with millions, hundreds of millions of dollars compared to normal people?
I think this is why I love this work, is because I see that regardless of our station in life, if we're well-to-do or struggling a bit, if we speak a certain language, if we look a certain way, if we're religious in a certain faith, that the challenges are universal. Yes, the surface issues are different, but when we dig beneath the surface, everybody is feeling a bit lonely. Everybody is questioning whether they're good enough. Everybody wonders who's there for me, who can I trust?
Yeah.
Who is curious and interested in me? So who do I love and do they love me? Is that too big picture?
Yeah, any examples? Of course without names, but okay, you have some super well-off client and he's struggling with what? So we just see...
I think on marital issues, it's really very universal, right? For many successful people, they might have dedicated the first 10, 20, or 30 years of their marriage to the job.
Yeah.
And then maybe the spouse dedicated that time to raising the family. They come to a point where they're like, I can take a breather now, right?
Yeah.
Which you're working toward, right? But then the question is, wow, who is this person? I live with someone, but I have no idea what they're thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know what to talk to them about. I don't even really know if they like me. And sometimes I suspect they really dislike me.
Yeah.
So are we just roommates or are we soulmates?
Yeah.
And this question maybe wasn't so relevant in the previous generation, right? But the concept of marriage has evolved. We went from, pre-1960s feminist movement, or maybe even a little bit earlier than that, where marriage was a necessity. It was legal, social, financial respectability. But nowadays, women can work, men can work. People can have children even outside marriage, right? Just depending on which country and what artificial assisted reproduction is legally permitted.
Yeah.
So now people get together really to self-actualize. We want a partner who will grow with us, who will be our best friend, who will be our career advisor, who will be our cheerleader, who will be our therapist. It's a lot to ask. And I think rich people, poor people, everybody has the same question. Does my partner still like me? Am I lonely? Do they know me? Why don't I feel like we're together even though we're physically in the same house?
Are there any common traits that you can see that successful, career or business successful people have?
Definitely there's the work ethic, right? But I think a work ethic can be learned, just like you're trying to instill that in your children. That is a teachable skill. Yeah. And what I love about this work too is I see that human beings, there's always potential for growth, right? There are people who grew up in families where they learn the work ethic, and then there are people who grew up in difficult childhood environments, but they learned that work ethic when they were 20, when they were 30, when they were 40.
Yeah.
Often, it's not down to were your parents divorced? Did your parents give you private school education? It really comes down to people will say, oh, I had one teacher in 5th grade who saw that I was talented and they gave me extra books or they gave me extra work after school or they told me to go apply for this scholarship. I had one mentor on my first job when I was 24. So I think work ethic is there. And then I think the second thing is passion. And passion is the part that I think you and I, we've been going back and forth about it, right?
Yeah.
You're passionate about your work and that's what's required for you to want to work more hours. Otherwise, you're just forcing yourself to do something. Even if socially it's like, oh, this is a good job, it's what you should do. If you don't feel passionate or fulfilled by your work in some sense, it will be very hard for you to be the top in your industry, to be successful. I think that's success for me, is when what you do pays you enough that you can still go home and say, my family is not worried about food, not worried about shelter. We actually have free time and free mind space to enjoy quality time together. And success is also you like your job enough. It doesn't have to be your number one passion, right? My number one passion was writing. I feel like you, I'm too old to be like a successful fiction author, for example, right? That skill I should have been developing much earlier. But I think passion for your work means that you like it enough So that whether you work 4 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours, when you go home to the people you love, you don't feel like you don't feel awful. You still have a little bit of joy left to spend that time with them. So it's a bit of moderation on both. You need money for sure, and you need to work hard to get that money. But you also need to enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's it all for? You're making the money, who is it for? You're going home, but you're miserable. You're grumpy because work was miserable.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Have you met financially successful people who actually hate their job or like their business?
I think a lot of people in my previous industry are like that.
Yeah.
Right? I used to work in finance, and I think there are a lot of people, maybe hate is a strong word, but for a lot of people, it's a practical choice. It's a sexy choice. It's a choice that most others told them, this is a good job, you should go for it. And they never questioned, they never asked, what is a good life to me and what is success to me? And they did it, and they feel like on the surface everything is fine, but inside something feels a little off. Yeah, for sure. I think there are a lot of people in that boat.
But do you have to like what you do to like be kind of financially
I think you have
successful,
to at least like what you do to
Okay.
be good at it. I'm trying to think of anyone I know that absolutely hates what they do and is good at it.
Yeah.
Because human motivation comes from the emotion, right? That there's a universal need for mastery, getting good at something, and there's a universal need for self-expression. And if the thing you do allows you zero room for self-expression, just like pulling yourself into it, pushing yourself to do it, I don't think that works. Do you know anybody who hates what they do and made a lot of money doing it, or met their metric of success doing it?
I know people, they started their business and they get to some point of success with their business, but then after like 7-10 years of doing it, they start hating it because it's like they just burn out and they don't want to do this industry anymore, though it brings them money. So it started with love, but it's kind of going through to more like a negative feelings about it.
So that's the seasons changing, right? They were in alignment between their interest and financial success. And then now they're at a point where, you outgrow your clothes, you outgrow your shoes, you outgrow, we even outgrow relationships, right? We outgrow many things. So at that point, the question is for people like that, what do they do with the next 10 years? Do they keep plugging away at the thing they've already built, or do they say, I'm going to work up the courage to try something different, right? And when you have that scale, you don't have to give it up, right? You can hire a professional manager, you can be, the chairman, you can be passively involved. There are many different ways to hold on to your financial success, but still make room for, more interest, more enjoyment.
I think what people maybe get wrong, including me, of course, they think it needs to be like always like that, always needs to be in one state. But changing, like as you call it, like different stages of life, it's normal.
Yeah. So I think we often get stuck. So I go back to this concept again of psychological flexibility. When you have such a tight little box built for yourself, and it may have been built over time, right? Initially you said, I'm going to try this job as a new graduate, but then you kind of got stuck in it, and now it's the only thing you can imagine. That's a recipe for unhappiness. Because now any change you make seems like a bad thing. But what if we go into any kind of change with a curious mindset, not a judgmental mindset, but to say, okay, I wonder what that's like. Like I have a lot of clients who now have good jobs, but they are feeling at this age, around midlife, not so fulfilled by it. So then they'll come in and say, I've been thinking about leaving my job for the last 10 years, but it pays a good living. It, covers my kids' private school fees. It gives us this nice lifestyle. And I say, you never go to a work brainstorm meeting telling your teammates, shut that down, terrible idea, never gonna work, right? At work, you give yourself the space to say, there are no bad ideas in this brainstorming session, let's just throw them out there and see how we feel about it. Same for yourself, right? You owe it to yourself to allow yourself a brainstorm stage where you say, okay, I'm not committing to leaving my good, nice job, but I am open to making a list of things that I'm curious about. That's all you need, the space to think, the psychological flexibility to consider other options. Because even if you've considered them, but you don't make the change, at least you can go back to your job and say, I am convinced this is the best job for me and I'm gonna stay in it. Right? The point of brainstorming and considering change isn't 100% to make that change. It's to be back in alignment with yourself and understand what is successful to you.
Okay, awesome. Chi, always I got so many get so many insights after our meetings. I just love it. Maybe we are wrapping up. Maybe some advice for our audience who want to get better life. Any advice what to start with?
I think
something simple.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a lot today, defining success and KPIs.
Yeah.
So I think everybody, whatever age you're at, could use this exercise, right? So go home, sit down, and ask yourself, when I'm 99, what's going to make me say I lived a good life? What are the 1, 2, or 3 things that you absolutely cannot have avoided or not done that feels like, oh, this life is incomplete? For me, as a younger person, it was family. Right? I knew I wasn't going to be cool and single and travel all over the world. I knew that having children, bringing life to the world and nurturing it was meaningful for me. I knew it was some kind of creative expression. I didn't get to be a fiction author in this life, but in my work now, I find many avenues for creativity, including writing short things on Instagram, writing longer articles on LinkedIn, and now writing my book. And the third thing is I also knew that coming from a developing country and a family background that wasn't well-to-do to start with, I knew that some kind of financial success was important to me. And at this age, 44, things will still change, but this year I really feel like I hit all 3. So if we cross the street now and something bad happens to me, I will feel, okay, I lived it. I will have regrets, right? My children are still young. I still want to be there for my husband, for my mother, but I have hit the big items. In 5 years, that may be different. And then I will re-engineer my life so that I will check the items that to me feel like I'm living a meaningful life and I can die with no regrets.